These are the only 5 exercises you need to build more muscle as a man over 40. So there are a lot of phenomenal exercises out there, but what I was looking at when I was, coming up with some of these exercises is now that you're older, you typically have more wear and tear on your joints. That's one thing. Another thing, you typically lack some stability, maybe even mobility in your joints, and you really want to focus on improving those things. Just because you don't have a lot of mobility now, or you don't have the stability that you used to have, or you don't have the balance that you used to have, doesn't mean you can't get that back. You just need to do the right exercises to help improve in those areas. So for that reason, the very first exercise, man, you want to make sure you're doing is definitely going to be a lower body exercise. But I'm gonna throw a unilateral exercise at you. Instead of a typical goblet squat like I've done in the past, or front squats or dumbbell squats. Those are great exercises and all, but if you don't do those, but you're doing this one I'm about to share with you, you're still gonna get phenomenal results. And that is a deficit lunge, all right? So a deficit lunge is basically just stepping on about a 2 to 3 inch platform. That's just gonna allow you to create a deeper deficit when you're going down. Now, you may not, initially, if you lack hip mobility or even some strength, you may not go very deep, and that's perfectly fine, but the goal is to make improvements with this exercise. So you're gonna put your front foot up, and you're going to step back. It's more of a reverse lunge, meaning you're not gonna be on the ground and stepping onto the platform and then lunging. Your foot is already gonna be firmly planted, your front foot on the platform, and then you're going to step back. Now, the thing with the lunge, the deeper you step back, or the further you step back actually, the more emphasis you're gonna place on your glutes and your adductors, and you can really feel that a lot more in a deficit lunge compared to a standard lunge. Now, if you step back in a shallow step back, you just take a very shallow step back, and as you descend down, you're going to place more emphasis on your quadricep. So that's the other benefit of doing this exercise. And of course, doing it, unilaterally, you're gonna be able to work each side the same, which is going to prevent any muscular imbalances or strength imbalances. So that's one of the biggest benefits to doing a lunge. Now, with the deficit lunge, I am throwing this at you because it will help improve that hip mobility and that knee mobility and even the ankle mobility on some of this. So you just want to make sure that you're focused on strengthening and adding stability to those joints. And that's the main reason we're going to be doing this exercise. All right. So again, this is a lower body exercise, but you need more than one. For that reason, the second exercise is more of a posterior leg exercise. And that's going to be Romanian deadlifts, or RDLs. But I want you to use preferably dumbbells, typically because these are gonna have, you're gonna have more access to dumbbells. If you're in a gym setting, you can do these on a Smith machine, which is fine. I actually prefer doing my RDLs on a Smith machine. But again, if you're not in a gym, you can still do this exercise just doing dumbbells. Now, the key to doing this one, and again, we talked about the lunges working more of the front side. This one is gonna work more of the hamstrings and the glutes and even the lower back, the spinal erector. So that's one of the biggest benefits of doing this exercise. Now, you do want to make sure you're using that hip hinge movement, meaning you're getting your butt back. Keep the dumbbells as close to your legs as you can. Basically allow them to just glide down your legs. Keep your spine neutral, don't round it. That's going to be the tendency when you get lower, is your mind is going to want to round your back to go lower and closer to the ground with the dumbbells. And you don't need to do that. You actually want to keep your spine and neck neutral and go as low as you can comfortably go. Just make sure you're feeling the stretch in your hamstrings and even in your glutes, but not necessarily in your lower back. If you are feeling this more in your lower back, one of two things are happening. You're either not hip hinging, getting your butt back first, or you're actually going too low. You don't really need to go very low with this exercise. Typically, I go just past my knees, and for me to get any lower than that, I would have to round my back, and that's not what you want to do. So again, depending on arm length and things like that, you probably just want to go right to the top of your knees or just below your knees. If you do that, that's going to be perfectly fine when it comes to overall depth. So lower body is done. The next exercise you want to do is a dumbbell bench press. So a lot of awesome bench press variations as far as incline and things like that, but I really wanted to focus more on just a standard bench press here, but you want to make sure that you're doing this correctly. Now, correctly meaning you don't flare your elbows all the way out to your sides. You actually want to bring them in slightly. You don't want to tuck them all the way to where your elbows are brushing your body on the way down, because that would be more of a close grip bench press and work more triceps. You actually want to keep them slightly out from your sides, but not at that flared 90-degree angle either. And you want to control the descent. Don't allow the dumbbells to just come down quickly. About a 4-second cadence. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004. One, slight second pause at the bottom, and then explosively lift the weights back to the top. That's gonna be the best way to do this, and use that same cadence for all repetitions. This is one of those phenomenal movements that is going to work your chest, also work your triceps, and even your anterior or front delts. So with that said, we've worked your front side, now we gotta work the back side, man. And the exercise I'm choosing here, typically I love doing pull-ups. Now, some of you guys, whether you're 40, 50, or 60, you can still do some pull-ups and you can still rep them out, but you may not be able to do them either correctly or enough repetitions. Let's say you can do 5, but that's the most amount of pull-ups you can do. I'm perfectly fine with doing a set or 2 at that amount and then working your way up. Because if you can get to where you're doing 8 to 12 for 3 sets of a pull-up, that's gonna be a phenomenal test of strength. It's gonna improve your strength, and it's just a great thing to do for your overall back musculature. So if you can do a pull-up like that, then do the pull-up. However, the majority of you probably can't, and I'm saying that from experience because I've worked with so many guys, man, and there's a lot of older men that can do some, and that's because they've worked on it. And there's also a lot of men, even 30 or 40 years old, that can barely do 1 or 2 or not even any of their body weight. So if that's you, then I want you to do a lat pull down instead. It mimics the same motion, very similar. You're still gonna get phenomenal benefits. You can work your way up here using the weight stack. So that's the benefit to doing this. Now, you wanna be pretty close to being upright when you're doing this exercise, and focus on pulling the weight with your elbows. So think of the elbows being the driver. And the reason that's important is because that's gonna allow your lats to do more of the work and relax your biceps slightly. A lot of people, they think about gripping the bar as hard as they can and just bending or pulling with their hands. And when you do that, a lot of the time, your elbows are bending more than your shoulders are working. And what that does is it incorporates too much bicep movement in this exercise. So yes, you are gonna work your biceps as a secondary mover, but I would rather you do it, after you've already gotten your lats activated and after your lats have already gotten most of the work done, then your biceps will kick in and just kind of help finish the movement. But that's the back exercise that we're gonna go with. Last exercise, we're gonna go with another shoulder exercise. Now, here's the thing. When I said another shoulder exercise, the reason I'm touching on that is because when I talked about doing the dumbbell bench press, I said you do work your anterior shoulders. Now, they're not a primary mover in that exercise, but one thing that isn't really getting worked are the medial delts, the sides of your shoulders. And as an older guy, man, those are crucial because the more you work the width of your shoulders, the more narrow your waist will look. So you're gonna get more of a slimmer looking waist just by adding a little width to your shoulders. So to do that, you definitely wanna do a dumbbell lateral raise, okay? But for this exercise, I wanted to incorporate something a little bit different. So we are gonna do the lateral raise component, but we're gonna do a side to front lateral raise. So this is something I program into a lot of my programs, every other phase or something like that. I do like to do a lot of other shoulder pressing and stuff like that. But the problem with the shoulder pressing, typically when you get older, a lot of men can't do a lot of pressing because they have shoulder issues or mobility issues, even stability issues, which prevent you from using enough weight to really get a lot of benefits out of it. So what we're doing here is a side lateral raise. We're raising out to the sides, bringing the dumbbells across to the front, and then lowering the dumbbells under control. Don't drop the dumbbells. Make sure you're lowering under control. Then while they're still, your hands are still in the front of your body, you're going to raise the dumbbells back up. So the initial part of this movement is targeting the width of the shoulders. Now this part of the movement is targeting the front delts again, because again, you really want to make sure you're working the shoulders. Shoulders are one of those illusionary muscles. When you get that 3D shoulder look, it's going to fill out your shirt. It's gonna make your, again, like I said, your midsection look tighter and smaller and just give you that width that allows people that see you to know that you work out. Instead of wondering if you do, they know that you do when you have a good set of shoulders on your body, man. So that's it. Those are my 5 exercises. Now I know there's tons of other great ones out there. I've got a lot of other videos demonstrating some of the same types of topics where I utilize different exercises. But these 5, if you do these, you're gonna have a phenomenal body. You're gonna get great strength, good posterior strength, and which is gonna help with your posture. So that's why I did all of these, and it's also going to help improve your balance. It's going to minimize any muscular imbalances. So that's where these came from. That's why I chose this group of exercises for this video. Hope you like it. Thank you so much for watching, man. And as always, get busy, get after it, and God bless, man.